Wow. What a binge. So I'm undeniably late to this party. For the last month or so, I've consistently seen a number of people suggest this show on Netflix, Blue Eye Samurai. Me being this late to the party, I imagine there's nothing I can add to the conversation about Blue Eye Samurai. But by God, I just watched it and I want to talk about it. What is Blue Eye Samurai? Well, simply put, it's a revenge-fueled 8-episode bloodbath. And that's probably all I need to say. That's enough, right? You need to hear me talk about this anymore? I feel like that is the sales pitch, but I guess I still will. Why? Algorithm, baby. It's an animated series on Netflix, takes place in 17th century feudal Japan. Japan at this time has adopted a very strict border policy, only Japanese people allowed in Japan. But with any system, there are those who slip through the cracks. Thus, our protagonist Mizu is half white, half Japanese, has blue eyes, which she hides. And yes, that's she, not he. It's treated as a reveal at the end of the first episode, but the voice actor is clearly a woman. But I was like, so is Bart Simpson, so we'll see. Could just be a dude with a feminine voice. Turns out Mizu is a woman posing as a man in that Mulan kind of way, but in Japan. Should get this out of the way right now before you go, you know what, sounds exciting. The family and I will watch it this weekend. Stop video. The show is very graphic. Violent, yes, also in terms of sex and nudity. A lot of graphic, sexual, one could say debaucherous content. There were a couple scenes in particular where I was like, you had to, didn't you? You just did. But generally speaking, it's within context and character. With that out of the way, the animation in this show is absolutely gorgeous. Without losing the artistic nature of it being animation, there's a realism to the characters' movements, even eye movements. It was shocking. I wouldn't be surprised if they filmed this movie with motion capture or people and then did the art over it. The action sequences are fluid, they're smooth, they're well choreographed. This is where dark, gritty, action-fueled stories lend themselves to animation. Because if this was live action, you would notice all the CGI green screen going down. All of it being animated, it just looks fucking incredible. Also, the side characters ranged from endearing to complex and engaging. There are truly unlikely pairings that happen in this show. Like the first ally she meets, Ringo, voiced by Masaoka, who played Hiro Nakamura in the show Heroes, who essentially has that same lovable type energy in here, who has no hands, which I really appreciate. A huge theme in this entire series is one of overcoming and growing past the hand you were dealt. Yes, that has to do with the faithful and noble companion who is very useful on the quest, who was born without hands. But also the blind sword maker who has no eyes. There's actually a conversation between the two of them where he was like, oh, you need hands to be a samurai, and the sword maker, as he is forging a sword, says, and you need eyes to be a sword maker. The princess set to be married off who refuses to have that be her life, which with her, at first I was like, all right, let's get back to the vengeance. But by the end, there's actually a really complex and fulfilling arc with her and her situation. Trying to keep it vague because I don't want to, it's not a play-by-play for the entire show. I'm just saying. Point is, the characters aren't defined by their seeming limitations or handicaps. Ringo isn't just the guy with no hands. He's her conscience, that Jiminy Cricket character, the good angel on her shoulder, telling her the paragon decision she should probably be making. The sword maker isn't just the blind guy, he's the wise warrior teacher. And Taigen isn't just the douche childhood bully. I would have been fine with that. I would have been cool if it was like, oh, this childhood bully, now in adulthood we meet again. Bully needs to be taught a lesson. But do you want fine or do you want great? This show knows the difference, and it goes, well, what if enemy becomes frenemy, and what if frenemy becomes one of the most complex characters with one of the most fulfilling arcs of growth in the entire series. And that brings us to our main character, Mizu. Out the gate, strong, badass, capable, confident, but also she's a very flawed human, which makes her relatable because aren't we all? But most importantly, not invincible. She's not invincible because there's an understanding here that part of a character's strength comes from how they react to losing. You don't have a character that ever gets knocked down, the audience will never know how they react to that, thus they will never know how strong the character actually is. Not to put too fine a point on the samurai sword analogy, but there was a samurai sword analogy I heard 20 years ago now from a pastor. He told me how in order to forge a sword, you have to heat it, beat it, smash it, fold it, cool it, heat it, beat it against it. It's a very rough process on the steel. But by the end, what you have is a very strong sword. He said, people are very much the same way. talking about, you know, trials in life. To the point, it's not about being untouchable. It's not about being invincible or instantly great at everything. It's about being on your quest, and when you get your ass beat to an inch of your life, which she definitely does a few times in here, having the conviction and fortitude to continue the quest. Maybe you gotta heal up, but after you're healed up, you continue the quest. That's her. She does that. And she's fucking awesome. Blue Eye Samurai does a good job at illustrating that heartache is not weakness. Being beaten in a battle is not a weakness. It's an opportunity to get back up and show your strength. Emotion is strength. You can be badass, but be flawed. In fact, the actual character flaw she has, which the show does address, is how hardened she has become for her quest. People aren't supposed to be this hardened. People aren't supposed to go on revenge quests like this and be this good at it. If we're talking Star Wars, this is the path to the dark side. Mizu is not the role model of the show. That's why we have Ringo. He's the role model. With that knowledge can come growth. All of these elements come together to make a character I found immensely compelling. Even her sword feels like a character. There's an interesting story as to how she got it, how it was forged. There's an absolute feeling of, if she loses that sword, how can we go on? Which again comes from the love and understanding of the lore. That sword is supposed to be the soul of a samurai. It's supposed to feel like a part of her, and it absolutely does feel like a part of her. I will say at the very end, there was something unfulfilling about it. Hate to say it, because generally speaking, it's otherwise pretty fucking flawless. It's just a personal thing with me. I was like, we're either gonna set up for season 2 or this is gonna be fulfilling. We're going into season 2, all right. But in the end, Blue Eye Samurai, incredible binge. Most enjoyable binge I've actually had in quite a while. As I'm a night owl at about 2 a.m., I had to actively, consciously think, okay, I kind of want to save a couple episodes for tomorrow. I don't want to burn through the whole thing in a day. Watching a show entirely in one day or having to make a conscious effort to save a little for tomorrow, both are compliments in their own way. I consciously elected to save the last 2 episodes for the next day. And I mean that in the best way possible. Thank you for the suggestions in the comment sections. I do read your comments. 8 episodes on Netflix right now. Again, probably want to wait till the kids are asleep to watch it. All right, so Blue Eye Samurai, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.